Hi, I'm Alex Elle, and I write books for a living. The Hey Girl podcast was created with sisterhood and storytelling in mind. Hey girl.
Hey girl.
Hey girl.
Hey girl.
I'll be sitting down with some phenomenal women to discuss love.
I believe we grew distant out of love of some type, I don't want to hurt you.
Loss.
Really don't know what's going to trigger that feeling of grief in any moment.
And a topic very important to my work, self-care.
I'm holding on to this self-care with every ounce of me.
Join us as we journey through sharing together. Hey everyone, it's me again, coming back at you from my closet in Maryland. I haven't gotten back in the studio yet to start recording season 3. I am home with my family enjoying our new baby girl. But we are going to be sharing some of your favorite episodes from Hey Girl seasons 1 and 2. This week, we're revisiting Seleena on mental health. Dr. Seleena Smith sits down to discuss mental health with me in the prison system. And as we're walking through 2018, I thought that revisiting some self-care and mental health chat would be beneficial for everyone. So I hope you guys enjoy this rebroadcast of Seleena on mental health. Hey girl.
Hey girl.
How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing well, Seleena. I'm so happy to have you on the show. This is going to be a really great conversation and topic, so I'm very excited. You're our first guest for season 2, so yay for that.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Alex.
Of course.
Such an honor.
Of course. Oh my goodness, of course. So I want to kick off the show by telling the listeners a little bit about you. So I'm going to hand over the conversation to you just so you can give us a little background about you, your line of work, and your life walk.
Okay. So my name is Seleena, and I am a doctor. I have my PhD in counseling psychology, and I work in a women's prison. And that's kind of crazy when I think about it because it was nothing I ever set out to do in my life, but it's been one of the best decisions I could have ever made for myself.
How long have you been at the women's prison?
I'm going on a year and a half now.
Oh, so it's fairly new.
Yeah, it's fairly new. Before that, I was teaching in a university here in Oklahoma in the African American Studies program. So it was a pretty big leap.
That is a big leap. Okay, I didn't know that. That is very exciting for me. So let's talk about that leap. So you started off teaching African American Studies at a university. What made you go, you know what? I want to do something different. And then you literally leaped to going to be a doctor at a women's prison and to, really get in there with the inmates. How did you make that decision?
Well, I was an adjunct, so I was teaching three classes a semester, which was pretty busy. But I just felt a void. I didn't go to school to become a psychologist or anything. I originally went to college. I went to Howard in D.C. to become a school teacher because I've always wanted to help, to serve people.
Yeah.
And I loved teaching, but I just felt like something was missing. Like I felt like I wasn't serving in the way that my heart felt congruent to my heart. Once I decided to go into psychology, I wanted to work with underserved populations. I don't know, I think one day I was watching a documentary or something, but I was just reading about women's incarceration. And come to find out my state has the highest female incarceration rate per capita, like higher than anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
I think at that point I made the decision, this isn't, I love teaching. I love it a lot, but I realized that's what I needed to do.
So, you're kind of teaching, right?
Absolutely.
But just in a different capacity.
Absolutely.
So that is wonderful.
Life comes full circle, I've realized. It's just not the way I envisioned.
It's never the way we envision it, right?
It's never. I have these days where I'm at my desk in my office, and I'm just like, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But it's been a beautiful journey. It's been absolutely beautiful.
When did you start applying to work in prisons?
It happened fairly fast. It was a quick process because I applied. The person who was doing the hiring graduated from my PhD program. And so we met up and she was just like, yes, we need you. And so come to find out, the facility I work at had no women of color in
Wow.
mental health. And we already know what the population looks like,
Right.
right? A
Right.
disproportionate amount of women of color.
Right.
And I'm the youngest woman on staff as well. And so it just, I mean, once we met and talked, she made it happen pretty quickly, my boss. I knew it was meant to be because there were no obstacles. Like my background check came back really faster than usual. Like everything fell in line.
It's almost like it was meant to be. Like you made that decision and it was just divine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have days, I mean, it feels like every day there's something that reminds me that this was meant to be, that it was divine. Whether it's something that, you know, one of the ladies come in to talk to me about, and it's just like something I've dealt with in my own life, or something that I've been, you know, it's every day I have a reminder or something to just let me know I'm where I'm supposed to be. So
what does a day in the prison look like?
What does a day look like, Alex? There is never a dull moment. There's never, every day is different, but it's from beginning to end, from the moment I step foot on the compound to the moment I leave. It's constant. People calling me, inmates just walking over, because I work on the mental health unit, which is like inpatient. It's the more severe end of the mental health spectrum when you think about, you know, mental illness. So I work on a mental health unit now. And so I even have women who are still general population constantly coming over to me. Last week was probably one of the craziest weeks I've had, because we had 2 women cut themselves. Like Monday, we had a woman on the unit cut her wrist. And then on Friday, I had another woman cut her throat. Like, I mean, and they're both fine. They're both they're okay. It's just one thing after another, crisis after crisis after crisis. And then I have those good moments where, you know, I just have someone come and talk to me about transitioning to prison. And I'm like, you know what? It's a good day.
How do you compartmentalize? Because I am an extremely sensitive person, right? So I don't think I could ever be anybody's doctor or psychiatrist or psychologist, because I would sit and I would just cry with them, you know, and because it's so difficult. Specifically, I imagine it's difficult when women, like you and I have talked about this on the phone, like they know they're not going home, right? So how do you, as a doctor, compartmentalize but still are able to empathize with your patients and, you know, give them as much comfort as you can?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm pretty transparent and I make sure that I'm authentic. So if they're sitting there talking to me about something that moves me, I don't mind shedding tears. Like, I'm not sitting there weeping, but, you know, I let them know that I'm being moved by what they're saying, because I want to be present and I want to be authentic. And I think that really helps my relationships with the women. But I've had days, Alex, where I've walked to the parking lot and sat in my car and cried, just because I've been so sad about what a lot of them have to deal with, or just frustrated with the systemic aspect of my work. But I have a good drive home. I have about a 35 minute drive home. And I find that is really important at the beginning of my day, going into work to get my mind together, and also driving home to kind of just let go of a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely moved. I have days where I'm just pissed off because a lot of the women are in for nonviolent drug charges. There's no reason why they should be serving 25 years.
Wow.
For, you know, what they perceive to be, you know, distribution, or, you know, a lot of them have taken charges for their husbands or boyfriends or, you know, other people in their lives. So it's frustrating. Those are the moments where I'm just really upset, and I have to, you know, exercise and do things to really make a conscious effort to let go of stuff. So self-care is really important.
Yes.
In this job, very important.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the doctor treats herself to self-care. I mean, you work in a very high emotional triggering job, and your duty in your work and in your life walk, because you mentioned it earlier that you want to serve, right? So your duty in life It's to serve, it's to serve, it's to serve, it's to give, it's to give, it's to give. So how do you pour back into yourself as a literal, like you're a giver all day, every day. So how do you pour back into yourself with your line of work?
So before I even answer, I was prepared for this question because I listened to your podcast. And I had this internal discussion, Alex, like, am I going to be honest or am I going to just I'm going to be honest. So
Good.
Honestly, and I think the important thing about this podcast is that it allows us to see that we're more alike than we are different. Like there's so much commonality in us. And one thing I struggle with is self-care, Alex. Like the doctor, I'm like one of the biggest hypocrites. I laugh all the time because that's what I'm constantly preaching to the women.
Yeah.
Like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to make yourself a priority. But I do go overboard sometimes. I give too much and I deplete myself. And, because my work takes so much out of me, I do have a tendency to isolate myself in ways that probably isn't healthy at times. But what I have found is that this job has helped me to create better boundaries. I've done a better job of saying no outside of work, and even at work, but especially outside of work, because I had a tendency to still try to do everything and be everything to everybody in my life outside of work. And I realized I can't do that and still be able to sustain myself at work. I'm so blessed to have an amazing tribe. I'm so blessed to have a great circle around me. And so I find that spending time with them or even just talking to them, even if I'm not physically seeing them, is important. I have 2 crazy dogs that keep me on my toes and keep me, grounded in ways that I need to be after work.
Yeah.
But self-care is something I struggle with. Music is an important part of my life. Finding balance has been a challenge for me.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to do better, but I have been able to find different ways, just reading, watching TV. Journaling is a huge part of my life. It just allows me to process my days and also kind of think about where I want to be, what I want to do in my life.
Yeah. So how did you end up in Oklahoma? Or are you from there?
Well, I lived here for a little bit growing up because I have family here. My dad is here. I have siblings here. And I also went to grad school here, my PhD program. So I was here for
a while.
6 years for, yes, the PhD journal is quite lengthy. And I came back. I was living in Texas for a while in the Austin area, and I came back. So what brought me back, in 2013, there was a really bad tornado here that affected a lot of people. And it was actually less than a mile from where my dad and my brother and their families live. And I realized when that happened that I've missed a lot of time with my family because of school and career. And so I moved here to be closer to them for a little bit because I have nieces and nephews that I love dearly. And I realized that at any moment, anything could happen.
Yeah.
So that's what brought me back. But I'm not sure how much longer I'll be here, Alex.
Really?
Yes, I love my work dearly, but I can't just be solely focused on career. And I think that's a common issue that a lot of us deal with, is that career versus personal life. And so I've found that my personal life is suffering a bit living here in a state like Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of opening up to finding out I don't know what my next step is, but Oklahoma, it's been a good chapter, but I'm thinking it might be wrapping up soon.
Okay. Well, that's, that is a part of the journey. You know what I mean?
It is.
And it's never easy to decide when to close your chapter, but you'll find a way. We always find a way. We always find a way.
Do you watch Queen Sugar at all?
I started watching it and I couldn't get into it. So
okay.
I guess that's a no.
Well, the new season started, and there was an episode the first episode actually, where there was a group of Black women talking about, having their professional lives in order and all these accomplishments. But then on the other hand, still wanting a family and wanting a partner and how to make that work because, I think they were most of them were probably in their late 30s,
Mm-hmm.
same age as me. And so it just really made me think more about, what do I want at this stage of my life?
Yeah.
I love my work though. And so
there's that push
that makes
and pull,
it tough.
right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm super happy that you've tuned into the podcast. Whether you're new here or a seasoned supporter, I want to stay connected. You can find me on the gram at Alex_Elle. And if you want something new to read, my new book, Neon Soul, is in stores now. In the meantime, make sure you rate and review on iTunes. And if you love the show, make sure you share with a friend. With your women at work, I know that you use my A Note to Self meditation journals with them. Do you guys have like a day where a bunch of them get together, or is it individual sessions? How do you find the balance to getting them to open up and to trust you, but also to trust the other women in their group?
Yeah, that's huge. So for my journaling group, I was very intentional with the women that I put together.
Okay.
And they were all women that I've worked with individually. And I spent a lot of time thinking about just chemistry and life story. Well, I really didn't think that much about their life stories. I just thought more about who I knew them to be. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see them even when they first got together, because some of them knew each other and some of them really didn't. And what happened was they all had this common thread of being mothers who had lost their children at some point, and they were all struggling with forgiveness. So I think it was divine in terms of how they all came together. And just to see them developing relationships over time has been transformative for me. So it's been a gradual process, but I think as they slowly started sharing stories, and of course, there's usually one or two who are a lot more upfront and forthcoming about their stories, which made the group safer for the other ones to open up as well and be vulnerable. And so that has just, I mean, that's my favorite part of the week when I have my journaling group.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. And then I also use your journal with some women individually as well, though. And that's been just as powerful because, concepts like self-care are things that they've never even thought about or heard up until now, which is something that I think we take for granted.
Yeah.
But they've been, so focused on everything else. A lot of them were just like a deer in headlights when I brought up self-care and how do you take care of yourself, or self-forgiveness. Yeah.
What were their responses when you were asking, what does self-care look like to you, or what does self-forgiveness look like to you?
Some of them said, I've never even thought about forgiving myself. I just want X, Y, and Z to forgive me. Or I've been just so focused on, beating myself up all the time.
Wow.
Self-care, I had to, in the group, I had to explain what that meant.
Yeah.
And then I realized also there's so much that I take for granted, being free, right?
Yeah.
Or quote unquote free.
Yeah.
I started using examples when I was talking about self-care. I was bringing up examples of things that they don't have access to.
I know. I was just going to say, so self-care for women in prison looks very different from self-care for women who are not in prison.
Yes.
So, okay. So that's what I really wanted to touch on that. So I'm glad you brought that up. How are they supposed to grasp and attain and maintain their self-care locked up behind bars?
A lot of it was me allowing them to tell me what, once we actually talked through what it meant, they were able to kind of say, oh, okay, so maybe taking some time out for myself in the morning before, everybody's out on the yard, and just being outside and breathing and looking at the sky and just taking some time to just be in the moment. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Or, exercising, like they have exercise classes that they do that are kind of like Zumba. So realizing that instead of spending time with their partner or trying to take care of their friends, that they would take this time out every day to go and work out. Eating how they eat. and there's still limitations to how they can eat. Like they don't get fresh fruit and vegetables like we do.
Wow.
So when I come to work with salads and stuff, they're just like, Dr. Smith, like, do you know how long it's been since I've had a salad? And that's, and when you think about it, food affects everything.
Absolutely.
Your mental health, your physical health, like everything. And so, but, making the decision to eat less junk food, even if it's not fresh food, they're eating less junk food.
What do they get to eat?
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's so crazy, like, because I'm literally over here, like, with my eyes getting so full and watery because I just can't even.
Yeah. And I still have moments like that. They may get, hot links or bologna sandwiches, or on good days, they get hamburgers, or they may get something that's turkey with gravy. And,
but vegetables, like, they don't like.
The vegetables are usually like maybe canned green beans or peas or, something like that. But no, it's unless they have the money to go to canteen, and they may be able to get, an onion or, just something here and there. No, or a lot of their stuff is frozen, frozen fruits and veggies.
So I want to ask you something.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
A friend of mine, and this might be just me trying to get like a therapy session, but I'm going to ask you.
That's what I'm here for.
So a friend of mine texted me the other day and said, do you think that everybody is privileged in some way? And I told her no. And the reason why, and I went through to explain that just as a woman of color, right? I acknowledge my privilege as a Black woman, as a free Black woman, not incarcerated, as a Black woman who has a steady income, who can afford, fresh fruit and food, and who can pay my rent on time, and all of these things. I feel like those are privileges that not everybody has.
Right.
And she was asking me because she agreed with my line of thinking, and her sorority sisters were completely saying like, no, everybody is privileged in some way. And I was thinking, if you tell someone who's underserved or underprivileged that they're privileged, and I'm talking about privilege in the economic standpoint, not that you're alive and you get to wake up and you breathe, like, that's a blessing, and that's a privilege, but we're talking about from the socioeconomic standpoint, that everyone is privileged in some way. And you bringing up that these women, when you have a fresh salad and they say to you, I haven't seen a salad in X amount of years, or you don't know the last time I had a salad, does that ever make you check your privilege?
Every single day. Yeah, like,
And do you understand what I'm saying? Like, does what I broke down? I mean, I'm not really great at breaking those types of things down, but I just figure like, I'm privileged, and privilege just doesn't just account for white privilege. You know what I mean? It accounts for privilege all across the board. So I wanted to see if you could touch on that and just let me know like how that makes you feel working in an environment where there are people who are very underprivileged and underserved.
It makes me check my privilege every day in some capacity. I have the right to shower when I want to. I have the right to eat when I want to, Alex. Like, even those small things, for me to tell, I have no right to tell them that it's going to get better. That never comes out of my mouth, because I get to leave every single day.
Right.
A lot of them are in there forever. Like, they're going to die in there. So
Jesus,
that, how dare I have the audacity to tell them it's going to get better?
So how do you soothe them?
I try to help them find some way to feel empowered about their life, whether it's, their ability to reconnect with someone that they have, lost touch with in their lives, their kids. Like, a lot of the women are mothers, and they have lost touch with their children, or their children no longer talk to them. And even just over their own life, having some power to heal over, there's a lot of trauma. And so letting them know that And that's hard a lot of days, Alex, to really get them to see, like, you have a voice, you have trying to help them find some aspect of their life where they have power.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the days where I go home and I'm just like, am I really making a difference? But then I come back the next day and I have a note under my door, like, thank you for everything you do for us. And so it's a lot.
So that's rewarding, right?
It is. It is.
And it must be rewarding to be able to help women reclaim their joy in some aspect.
Yes.
Specifically after they've been, ripped from their families, or they've made poor decisions that ended them up in prison, or whether they're, falsely accused or what have you. There's so many reasons why someone can lose their joy and lose their voice. What you're doing is, I've told you this before, is just absolutely phenomenal. I commend you for doing this line of work, because it's not easy. I mean, you said yourself, you're the only woman of color there. And I'm sure when you walked in and they saw you, they were just like, amen, like somebody, you know what I mean, who looks like me. Because even that gives people comfort, Alex, and a sense of family.
Yeah. When I first started, probably for about 2 or 3 months straight, I would have women coming to my office saying, we've been waiting on you.
Oh.
We've been waiting for you. And these are women who have been there for like decades. And so that speaks a lot to how long it's been since they've had a clinician of color, or someone who's been there for decades, to say, we've been waiting on you.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that helps me feel like I'm helping them is to help them recognize that the talent and the gifts that they have, because just because they're incarcerated, that doesn't take away who they are and what they have to offer. So there's so many brilliant women who I just think about the impact that they would have on the world if they were outside of those walls, like artists, like lawyers. Like, there are women who are brilliant thinkers and writers and singers, and it's just, and servants. There are women who are just there to help other women grow, and helping them recognize that, and recognize that the fact that they're in prison doesn't take away the power of those gifts and the talent that they have, and helping them to channel that into the environment they're in is really important to me as well. Just speaking life into them, and light, and letting them know who they are and what they have to offer, because they still have a lot to offer. Like, I love those women so much. They have really changed my life in such a profound way.
That is just all the feels. Like, that's all I can even say. So we have a few more minutes before we have to wrap up, but I wanted to touch on the comment you made a few weeks ago when I spoke with you about women really being the backbone of families, and how we hear so much about men being ripped away from their families and being the backbone, and all of that, which is true as well, but how you broke it down really shed a new light on that for me. So I wanted to know if you could touch on that.
I've been listening to The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. What I found is that it focuses on primarily male incarceration. And, when you watch TV or you're watching a documentary, most of the time, I think 13th primarily focused on male incarceration as well. But what I realized working there is that when you take a woman out of the equation, especially in our communities, the whole system falls apart. Like, the children end up in foster care, or, in state custody, and they're often split up. When we have grandmothers and mothers in the system, because a lot of times the grandmothers are the backbone. We have grandmothers, aunties. So we have women who are like in their 70s and 80s in prison still.
Jeez.
When you take that out, like, the family truly does fall apart. They split up. And then the children, once they end up in the system, a lot of times they end up just falling into that same cycle. They end up being abused and mistreated, and a lot of the families get into the foster care business for the wrong reason, or not business, but into foster care for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And so we just have this cycle that starts. But yeah, the families, there's so many women who don't know where their kids are. They know their kids have been split up, and siblings, the kids don't even know what their siblings. And so I just realized how systemic like that can be, like how pervasive that can be in our community in terms of affecting everything. And I never thought about that. Until I started hearing firsthand, how it affects our families and our community.
Yeah. Oh, well, this was amazing. You are amazing. And I'm so honored to have you on the show. Like I mentioned earlier, this is just such a great way to kick off season 2. Before we wrap up, I do want to give the listeners a chance to get to know more about you and where they can follow you and maybe stay in touch, ask questions. I know we have a lot of college students who listen to this podcast who may be going into the same field or line of work as you. So please feel free to share your social media, your blogs, anything that you want for people to, connect with you.
I would love to. And especially college students. I'm a first generation college graduate on my mother's side of the family. So if there's anybody I can help with this journey of trying to navigate, I would love to. My email address is Seleena, Seleena Smith, PhD @gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram. You can look to get a glimpse of my personal life on Instagram, and that's Leena, Leena, PhD. And I really need to start blogging, Alex. Like you, I've had so many people tell me that. So I am going to look into blogging because I really do have a lot of stories that I can share with people.
I'll be tuning in when you do.
Please, yes. And I just want to take a second to thank you for all that you do for women, for our community, and especially for the women that I serve. You have changed their lives. Like I have your books and I read, different poems and different things that you've written to them. And like I told you, your affirmations and stuff are on my computer, so they see them on my screensavers, and you have no idea how many people you touch every single day. So I just want to thank you for all that you do, and you've helped me tremendously over the past 3 or 4 years.
Thank you.
This was even before you knew me, so you're an incredible woman and you're doing great work. So I want to thank you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate those words. And I look forward to coming to visit the women. We're going to make that happen in 2017.
Let's do it.
And it's going to be great. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey Girl is a member of the District Productive Network. Produced by Jamie Benson and me, Alex Elle. Music provided by DC's own Kokai.